Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. You can visit our website, holybatcast.com. You can also find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast and you'll find us. And if you're a big fan of the show and you want to support us, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And as always, a big thank you to our patrons. Got to give a shout out to our newest patron here, Mr. Tom Servo. I think his real name is Kyle.
It'd be cooler if it was Tom Servo.
I know, I've got two names here, but my hunch is his Patreon name is Tom Servo and his real name is Kyle. But Tom or Kyle, whatever it is, thank you. You're amazing. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate your support. You rock. Hope you know whatever your name is, we'll be blessing your name tonight. Both of them. So big thank you to Tom and big thank you to all our patrons. You guys are awesome. Thanks for supporting the show, keeping it rolling. You guys rock. We are part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out those shows at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm your bat host, Andy DeGenova. You can find me on Twitter, X, Instagram, and Letterboxd. It's just my name, Andy DeGenova. It's Halloween, Jamie. I didn't introduce you yet, but he's here. Jamie's here.
You guys know who I am by now.
You know, you heard his voice. But it's Halloween. Happy Halloween.
Yeah, it's always happy to be Halloween.
And we like to do something themed. And one of those animated Batman movies we haven't gotten around to. It's spooky, not necessarily in a Halloween-y way, but in a spooky way anyway.
It's horror adjacent. It kind of counts.
Yes, it certainly counts as horror adjacent. That I think is totally fair. And so we're doing it. We're finally getting around to Batman, the Doom that came to Gotham, and Jamie's here for me, or for it, and for us. Yeah, all the above. Hi, Jamie.
Hi. How you doing?
Happy Halloween.
Yes, very happy.
As we're recording it's Halloween Eve.
Yeah, it's Devil's Night.
That's right. It
to
is
answer
Devil's
your question
Night.
From the Abbott and Costello podcast. Yes, October 30th is Devil's Night.
Okay, that's what I thought, but nobody was there to confirm it that night.
That's because I was busy sleeping.
It's because you were out. So there you go. That's what I thought. So it is Devil's Night tonight, but by the time people hear this, it'll be Halloween Day, or maybe even a few days after. But if you're listening to this, even if it's the first week of November, it allows you to hold on to that Halloween spirit just a little bit longer. And that's okay.
It is so Halloween that my dumbass quarterback for the Raiders just threw an interception in Monday Night Football, and the defense for the Lions just did the Thriller choreography in the end zone.
Oh, see, I like that.
Yeah, see?
That's fun.
I don't really like the reason they did it, but it was kind of cool that they did it.
Listen, I respect the theming. I should give the disclaimer, my voice is not what it usually is. I was just telling Jamie it's because we have a haunt in our yard this year. So I was scaring people all weekend. And so my voice is not as strong as usual. So I just got to kind of keep it lower, try not to push too hard and get through this. But also, in addition to scaring people in our backyard, last night we went and saw Hanson at Epcot. So my voice had no prayer this week.
You've had quite the weekend, haven't you?
Dude, I would say I'm so tired. And most of it is tired for good stuff. Not all, but still, it's too much. It's too much. I'm going to sleep for November. And then I will rise from my slumber in time for Christmas. But November, I'm out. Maybe the podcast.
This cold weather.
What's that?
I said I'd like to sleep through this cold weather.
All right.
3 days ago, it was 77 and sunshine. Tomorrow, it's going to be a high of 40.
I heard that. I heard you getting a really chilly Halloween.
Yeah. It's high of 40, low of 29 or something like that.
Aye. So the kids are going to have to wear coats over their Halloween costumes?
Yeah, well, if they even go anywhere. My kids are super cool and they don't really... Well, peek behind the curtain. My daughters turn 18 tomorrow, the twins. And for the first time in their lives, I think they're going to pass on trick-or-treating, which I kind of understand at that age, but at the same time, kind of breaks my heart a little bit that they've outgrown it.
Yeah. That's crazy, but happy birthday to the twins.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, we'll get to the movie, but first I got to give a shout out to our pals over at Manscaped who are kind enough to sponsor the show. And they want to let you know, and I teased this on the last episode, about their brand new lawnmower 5.0. So, gentlemen across the nation, I have an urgent message for you. This episode is brought to you by Manscaped. The brand that took your balls to space is now launching them into the Ultrasphere, introducing the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Featuring a new cutting-edge design and next-generation dual skin-safe blade heads for different shaves, it's pretty much a spaceship to take your boys downstairs to the next level. So join the 9 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with the brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, and go to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. Just use that promo code BATSCAPED. BATSCAPED, 20% off, free shipping. High tech for low places, Manscaped.
And if I could just throw out my 2 cents on this week, I got their nail trimmer kit.
Me too.
And I have this strange biology. I'm always talking about, sensitive skin, coarse beard, all that. I also have fingernails that are like Lady Deathstrike. So like I can cut through things. My fingernails are so hard. So finding nail clippers that work for me, not always the easiest thing. But I just happened to cut my fingernails and toenails this morning after I got out of the shower, and this nail trimmer kit for the toenail clippers and the fingernail clippers went through my stuff like hot butter. I was super impressed.
I was very happy with my set too. I gave myself a little manicure and a pedicure.
I don't know if I'm patient enough to quite sit there and do that, but those clippers, boy, they are on point.
Yeah. I mean, they have lots of great stuff. Yes, we both finally picked up the nail trimming kit, but the Lawnmower 5.0, I did get one. It is a game changer. It's great. There are 2 interchangeable blades. So one is like standard, but if you want to get a closer shave, it now has a foil blade so you can get as smooth as possible. And now it's got 2 LED spotlights to make sure you see what you're doing, and 3 length setting combs for your desired lengths, and it's waterproof. So don't have to worry about like getting hairs everywhere. Just take it to the shower with you. Do it there. It's waterproof. It's easy. So if you haven't gotten the lawnmower before, I was saying earlier, I just recently went from the Lawnmower 3.0 to the 4.0, which was already a huge leap. And now the 5.0 is out. So if you guys have been waiting out, 5.0 is the way to go. Check it out. Go to manscaped.com, get the 20% off, get the free shipping, and then use that promo code BATSCAPED. We would love it because that way you buy yourself something nice, you save a little money, and you get to support Holy BatCast in the process. Good stuff, guys. Treat yourself for Halloween. I was going to say carve those pumpkins. No, shave those pumpkins.
Carve those pumpkins.
Oh, man. Whatever.
You should be writing for Manscaped.
But all their stuff is really great. So yeah, check it out, make a purchase, and thank you to everybody who has already done that. But now it's time to get spooky. Hold on to your dookie. It's about to get spooky. Let's take a look at Batman, the doom that came to Gotham.
Doom. The great doom is coming.
The sins of the father are heaped upon the son.
You have no clue the power this book possesses.
I know those who seek it mean to do this city harm.
Before it can be truly saved,
Gotham must be burned to the ground.
Now, the Doom that came to Gotham is based on a 3-issue miniseries from 2000 and into 2001. I never read it, and so I'm watching this only as a movie.
Same.
I don't come with any preconceived notions. I don't know what they kept, what they cut, what they changed. So it's kind of nice to just watch it that way. But this was released last March 28th of 2023. It's directed by Sam Liu and Christopher Berkeley, and it is based on the miniseries by Mike Mignola and Richard Pace. What do we got for voices this time? We've got David Gantoli as Batman. I don't know the name, but I'll tell you what, he kind of looks like Batman.
He's voiced Batman before, but I can't remember in what.
Oh, Soul of the Dragon. He's on Soul of the Dragon.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So he's on Grimm. Because you know what's funny? I definitely had a little bit of deja vu. I'm like, wait, I feel like I have heard that name before. That explains it. Tati Gabrielle is Kylie Kane, David Dastmalchian, Bill Standby. He is Grendon. John DiMaggio is Jim Gordon. Jeffrey Combs is Kirk Langstrom.
Which I love that, by the way.
Yeah, it's great. Patrick Fabian is Harvey Dent. Brian George is Alfred. Jason Marsden is Dick Grayson. Christopher Gorham, who's done a lot of Flash voices, he's Oliver Queen in this. Tim Russ, Lucius Fox. So yeah, a lot of familiar voices that you might have heard before.
For those who don't know the name, because I didn't until I was reading IMDb yesterday, Brian George is Babu from Seinfeld.
Oh my God, yes. So I see his face and I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen that guy, but I didn't know why, but you're right.
Read his IMDb credits. I had to scroll for like 100 years to read everything. This cat has done a lot of voice work.
Yeah, he was Alfred in The Killing Joke too.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. But you're right. He has been working a lot. He is a busy guy. Yeah, he's one of those, if you saw his picture, you'd go, oh yeah, of course, that guy. So kick us off, Jamie. What'd you think of The Doom That Came to Gotham?
Well, let's speak on behalf of Brendan first, shall we?
Sure.
Because I posted that I watched this for a Scarathon entry yesterday morning, and good old Brendan proceeded to tell me with a gift that he finds this movie to be hippopotamus shit.
I was amused by that. It was funny.
It was pretty gross. But
I mean, yeah, that too, but also funny.
fair enough.
Even though I don't necessarily agree with him, it still made me laugh.
So yeah, just to get it out of the way, I really enjoyed this. I feel like this is one of those you really have to take it for what is presented and not make comparisons to things as you know them in established works that have come before or characters as you know them. There's a lot of creative liberties taken with characters and playing in the Elseworlds realm, which that's really what Elseworlds is for, is to do these sort of things. And I appreciate it more often than not. All that said, even though they did tinker with so many characters, and we'll get into that much deeper later on, I really felt that the Batman character himself, Bruce Wayne, was very true and honorable to his character. And I liked the way that he was presented, and I liked the movie overall and the way that it was presented.
All right.
There were some choices. There were definitely choices in this thing. But again, to me, this is what the Elseworlds format is for, is to be able to make those choices without tripping up in continuity or trying to make sure that you stay true to this one aspect of a character or a storyline that happened 10 years ago. I mean, this is a playground for people to be able to tell these kind of stories. So, let them play. That's what I see it as.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. It's so interesting. You're right. It is Elseworlds. I don't even know, to the nth degree. Like it is like the ultimate Elseworlds, because you're right. They just go kind of crazy with this variation of what Batman's mythos could be. And so I think it is well done. I think it's very creative. I like the animation, and they do a lot of interesting things. Like you said, they make a lot of choices. And so it all depends. And I think this is what you were getting at, is it just depends on whether or not you're down for this kind of Batman. And if you are, I think you'll be very happy. And if you're not, it just might not be your thing. And I get both of those things. And so where I stand is I'm like, it's a movie that I thought was really creative and a story that I thought was really creative. And probably a lot of credit goes to the miniseries before the movie. But is it necessarily for me? Not really. But I still appreciated it for what it was. So, like, it's not one that I see in the future being like, I'm in the mood to pop on a Batman movie. I'm going to do The Doom That Came to Gotham, because it's probably not my favorite flavor of Batman. But for people who are into this kind of supernatural horror, Lovecraftian type thing with Batman sprinkled into that, if that's your jam, then I think you'll be happy with it. And for me, I respected it more than I think I enjoyed it.
That's fair.
And that's not to say I didn't enjoy it, because I did. I liked it well enough. For me, it's just a little too far away from the mothership. if you know what I mean.
No, I get it.
But it was interesting, and I did have a lot of fun seeing how they twisted the different characters and scenarios and everything. And I had a lot of fun seeing how creative they were with so much of the Batman mythos.
No, they definitely they made their choices, and they just went all out with them. I mean, particularly the Bat family, and especially I think the villains for this were way deep into different territory with those. But again, all that said, I want to reiterate, I really felt Bruce as a character was very, very true to most of the versions that we know.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And it's funny because I did think when I was watching this I thought of Soul of the Dragon a lot. And I didn't love Soul of the Dragon, but a lot of people did, because a lot of people were like, well, no, yeah, I want a 70s Kung Fu movie with a dash of Batman. And for me, I was like, no, I wanted a Batman movie with a dash of 70s Kung Fu, And this is far more of a Batman movie than that one was. And so I do think I enjoyed it more. But again, it totally will come down to personal taste. Mm-hmm. And I will say one thing I really liked about it was they fit in a lot of story. They fit in a lot of elements of Batman's world, a lot of characters. So it covers a lot of ground in just under an hour and a half.
Yeah, definitely did that.
It's also worth saying right now we're spoiler free, but we will give a spoiler warning when we get there. But
there was some comparison I was just going to make with this. That oh gosh, go ahead and say your next thought, because I'm trying to backtrack and remember what I was going to say, and I've completely slipped my mind.
That's all right. So I mean, it is worth noting, it's set in the 20s. It's very Elseworlds, and it's also worth noting I don't know a lot about Lovecraft, so I also can't really bring any of that into this and compare of like, well, it really does justice to the Lovecraftian elements. I don't know if it does. I don't know. But for me,
I feel like that's way more of a we're in that playground too, and there are elements. I'm not like a Lovecraft expert or anything, but I have some familiarity with some of the works. I've read a little bit. I've watched a little bit, so things were familiar to me, but I don't know that I would call this like a straight up adaptation of Lovecraft with Batman at the side.
Yeah. But there's certainly enough of it based on what I know that, again, I don't
definitely agree.
Yeah, I don't think people would be disappointed. I'll tell you, the one thing that's Lovecraftian that I know the most about Lovecraft because of two things, because of In the Mouth of Madness, because that's considered very Lovecraftian. Mm-hmm. And I do love that. And then also there was an extended intro to a Treehouse of Horror that was all Lovecraft. So that's where all of my knowledge of Lovecraft comes from.
Do you read Sutter Kane?
No, I don't. Okay. I don't read books. And you're supposed to say, well, the movie comes out next month. That was the next line. The movie comes out next month.
My thought came back to me. So the comparison I would make to this for anybody who hasn't seen it, to give it a little bit of perspective, I think, and you can call me if I'm off base with this. This is almost like the Batman Telltale game or book, sprinkled in with the elements of Long Halloween, where there's like so much happening.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I think this is necessarily even as good or better than those. Actually, I know I don't, but it's just kind of the feel that I got with it.
Yeah. I mean, and I would say it's also not completely out of step with Gotham by Gaslight. It's a similar flavor to Gotham by Gaslight, even though it takes place a little more in the future. Gotham by Gaslight was the 1800s. This is 1920s. During Prohibition, which I thought was an interesting choice, but kind of a cool choice. But yeah, I mean, honestly, the Batman design, which I actually think looks great. I think the animation overall is great and Batman looks great, but his costume is very Gotham by Gaslight. Like, this could almost be a sequel, you know?
Yeah, kind of. And as I recall, I enjoyed Gotham by Gaslight quite a bit too. So
Yeah, I did too.
I enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
And that one made some choices too, but this one took the choices to another level.
Without a doubt. Yeah. And we can talk about those when we get there, because I don't even know if I watched a trailer for this before I watched it. I did watch this when it was new. I watched it earlier in the year, and I knew that we would probably get to it, come October. But going in, as characters would keep popping up, I was like, oh, wow, they're in this? Oh, wow, them too? So again, it was really fun, and I never felt like it was overstuffed. I thought it was done very well, as far as how everybody fit into the story and the parts they played and everything.
Yeah. I didn't see a single thing for this until I watched the movie for the first time yesterday. So this was kind of a cold watch for me. I saw some reactions from people in like the Real Fans group, and they seem to be very divisive when it first came out. And from what I can see from my post yesterday and the comments that were made there, it's apparently still very divisive amongst fans. So.
Yeah. And again, but that makes sense to me, is because when I watch it, I'm like, you know what? I totally get people who would love this, and I totally get people who would be like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And as usual, I'm kind of in the middle, but like, it's one where I go, yeah, like if this is your jam, I think it's pretty darn good, but I don't think it's my jam.
I feel like this movie is the what's the word I'm looking for? The illustration next to the definition of your mileage may vary.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think that any of its shortcomings is not really based on the quality of the movie. I think the quality of the movie is good. It's just a matter of whether you like it.
Exactly. I think the animation is solid. I think the voice cast is excellent. I think all of the production values are on, top shelf levels. I don't have any complaints in those departments at all with this one.
Yeah, I agree.
But again, once we get over the wall and get into some of these choices, I think we'll cover the basis of why it's not for everybody.
All right. Well, let's get over the wall then. I think we've danced around it enough, but I think everybody gets the point. And so check it out. It's out there. It's available. Is it on Max? I didn't even check.
I think it was the last time I checked, but I did not check recently.
Yeah, this is one that I bought. Or no, this is the one that we did a giveaway for, didn't we?
Yes.
So they were nice enough to give it to me. Never mind. I didn't buy it. But I just watched my copy. I did not. I didn't check. But I think you're right. I think last time I saw Max, it was on there. So it is out there. Check it out. It is one of the longer ones. Again, it's almost an hour and a half. But yeah, it's certainly it's certainly spooky enough to count for Scare-a-thon. It is creepy. There's violence. There's gore. There's monsters. It is a creepy Batman movie, and so you can count it as your Scare-a-thon with it, with confidence. No one's going to call you on it, I don't think. So we're going to get into spoilers. We're going to speak freely. So spoilers are A-okay in 3, 2, 1.
So I guess the first thing I'll hit on is it took me forever, and I don't know if it was supposed to or not, to figure out that Sanjay was Jason Todd.
Yeah, yeah. I liked that. I thought that was really clever. I really liked
I did too.
That. Mm-hmm.
I think it was we're over the wall, so people, you've been warned. When they showed his tombstone and his name was Sanjay Tawde, I was like, oh, he's Jason Todd. Oh,
yeah.
Now I get it. Dick Grayson, that speaks for itself. And then I started wondering about Kylie. I'm like, who is Kylie? Kylie? I was like, I don't know if they're doing a ethnic swap on this one. I couldn't quite place it. And then for some reason it clicked with me, I don't know, maybe half an hour into it. I was like, I think she's probably Cassandra Cain with a different name, which I don't know why they felt compelled to change the name for it, but whatever. Not a big deal to me, I guess. But
well, yeah, and it's funny because I saw what they were doing. Like you said, I didn't connect Sanjay with Jason Todd until maybe halfway through. I think it was when they started, someone called him Jay instead of Sanjay, and I went, oh, duh, But for me, it was obvious that Kylie was Cassandra Cain, but I was like, Kylie, Cassandra Cain, that's not even close. And then at the very end, they introduce her as Kylie Cain, and I'm like, oh, well, there you go. There, it was there all along, but they wait till the very end to reveal that.
Right.
But again, that reminded me a lot of Gotham by Gaslight, how they had like the street urchins that were the three Robins. Here he had these kids that he's picked up along his travels. He's been out there for 20 years, and they're essentially three of his Robins. Even if they changed their names and their stories a little bit, it was cool to get them in it.
Yeah, I do wish all three of them really. I think my biggest complaint about it is for having this much Bat family sprinkled in. I would have liked to have gotten more Bat family activity because, let's face it, Dick and Jay went down real fast in this thing.
Yeah.
And I don't, again, playing in an Elseworlds realm, I don't have a big objection to the choice of killing them, but damn, let them get a little bit more time in first, make it count for something a little more. So I think that's probably my chief complaint about this movie.
I agree with you. I respect, again, because it's Elseworlds, it doesn't matter. I respect killing them off. It gives the movie stakes, and the movie has nothing if not stakes. And it goes back to what I was saying about it being horror adjacent. When they walk in and you see Sanjay just frozen, dead, the first time I watched it, I had that quick second of like, oh, he's probably okay. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, never mind. They're not doing that. He's dead. Okay.
He's certainly not. This is not one of those episodes or movies where you never feel the peril of somebody because you just know they're going to make it. This ain't that film.
Right. And then when they kill Dick too, you're like, oh, well, damn. But you're right. It would have been nice if they would have been a little more active before that happened, because Bruce is Batman, but they are still just like his friends, his wards, but they never actually become the Bat family.
Yeah. And I mean, didn't they basically establish that he'd been away from Gotham for like
20 years?
20 years? 20 years?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a minute.
Yeah.
Like I understand he's out, bettering himself and everything from mental and physical and what have you, but that's just a long time to leave Gotham to its own devices.
Mm-hmm.
But again, choices in an Elseworlds, whatever. Not stifling my opinion of it, but it's just kind of a head scratcher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now the one character, I swear I heard them call him Grundy at one point, and then I looked it up, and that wasn't the name that the character had, but that character kind of circled back around and became what I assume was obviously Mr. Freeze.
Yes, it was Grendon, which is a weird name, but that's David Dastmalchian. And they meet him like in the opening, and he had, poked out his eyeballs because you can't look upon this. I already forgot the name of the big tentacled creature that was going to invade.
Some impronounceable.
Whatever his name
was. Tota or something like that.
Something like that. Agoraphobia. Yeah, that was it. But anyway, so yes, like his name is Grendon, but yeah, he gets frozen, and then they take him, and he's supposed to be dead, but he's still alive, and he just keeps getting colder and colder as the movie goes on, which I thought was clever. And there is a point where I think it is Sanjay who actually calls him Mr. Zero, which is a great throwback to Mr. Freeze's original name. And then, it was real quick, but I thought that was cool. And then, he kills Sanjay. And by the time he is, I don't know, teamed up is the right word, but he's with the ghouls, Raz and Talia. Yeah, he's like got like the containment suit, and so I actually thought it was a really neat version of Mr. Freeze, even if they never call him that.
Yeah. I think all of these villains that we're gonna get into this discussion with, I think they're all really well done in the sense that they all contribute some major thing to the plot, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But they just had fun with how to do it. I think Two-Face being the most obvious one that. Basically Poison Ivy gives Two-Face or Harvey Dent the second half, if you will, the disfigured, scarred portion. But that portion is actually like the key to opening the doorway to bringing this elder god threw to wipe out the earth. I thought that was a super clever way to blend Batman mythos with Lovecraft mythos. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah. So the demon or whatever is Iog Sotha.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. But I agree with you. I think Two-Face was the one that made the most impression. Like when I went to rewatch it, that was what I remembered the most, especially the way Two-Face looked at the end, because he didn't just get disfigured. Like the entire half of his body essentially becomes a massive tumor and takes over the entire room and then becomes this portal. And it is so gnarly and gross, but like, again, very clever, a very clever way to do Two-Face in a very different way within this world, but it made an impression. I forgot a lot about this movie in the past 6 months. I did not forget him.
And then, you know, speaking of Ivy, I think it's clever to blend her in with the Lovecraft thing, because so much of Lovecraft in the images that I've seen involved with it involve tentacles and stuff like that. Like I think a lot of people who aren't into Lovecraft but maybe have seen Hellboy would know what I'm talking about, because that's very Lovecraftian and how that was put together in the Hellboy movie, the original Del Toro one.
Oh yeah. That's a good call too. I guess I like that too. Yeah.
So Ivy is like a really cool way to blend some of that in, because so much of what she does involves the tentacles, but it's more of a flora thing than it is, you know, demonic, otherworldly stuff. I wish they would have taken more advantage of that with her. I feel like of any of the villain characters that I feel were a little shortchanged, I think she was the one that was served up a little light in this one.
I mean, hers was more of an extended cameo, and that's okay, because again, they got so much into this, but she was one, by the time she showed up, I thought we were done introducing characters. And then she shows up and you're like, oh man, we got one more. And I thought she was awesome. Like, I thought she looked great in her human form. It was a very 1920s Poison Ivy, but I really loved her design. And then when she goes full monstrous Poison Ivy, I thought that was a great design too. So even though she does not have a lot of screen time, I really liked this version of her. I thought it was really cool.
No, I agree with that. And again, I'm not complaining about what we got. I'm complaining that I wish we would have gotten more.
Sure.
Which, as you always say, is, you know, the best form of praise probably. But I wish we would have gotten more of. I would have probably shortchanged somebody else's screen time by several minutes to get her a little bit more involved. You know, again, they're making choices. You know, I'm not here to critique people's choices, but if it was me in charge, I probably would have made the choice of shortening up somebody else's screen time and giving her a little bit more.
Yeah, no, but I mean, again, it just means that it worked, which is great.
Totally.
But she was cool. Here's my big complaint of the movie. It's my only real big complaint of the movie. Are you ready for it?
I am.
So Oliver Queen's in this movie, which I dig. I think that's fun.
I loved Oliver Queen in this movie too.
Yeah, I thought he was great. We'll get more into that in a second. But towards the beginning of the movie, Oliver Queen, he realizes Bruce is back in Gotham. He brings Bruce and all of his little orphans over for dinner, and they're having a great time. And Oliver's bragging about his hunting skills. And he says, there's no flora or fauna that, you know, that can escape me or whatever it is. Or that there's no flora or fauna that's a match for me. And Kylie goes, well, you know that flora is plants, right? And he goes, whatever, same difference or whatever. And then in the end, he kills Poison Ivy. And he's about to die. He essentially sacrifices himself to kill Poison Ivy. And Kylie comes and he goes, I told you there was no fauna that could match me. And I was like, no, that's when he should have said there's no flora, not fauna. Fauna is animals. Flora is plants. How do you screw up the callback? Because guess what? He finally had to kill a plant that was going to kill him, not an animal. Yeah, that's my complaint.
Well, I would imagine it's the same reason that at the Dark Knight Returns, I believe it was. Yeah, it was Dark Knight Returns, where they fire a missile and it says missile detected.
Oh, does it?
Yes.
But anyway, I was like, oh, you were so close to nailing that and you screwed it up. But anyway, that's that.
No, I get it. But Oliver, much like Bruce, I think Oliver, obviously they made a ton of changes with him too. But again, to his core, I really still felt like that was Oliver Queen that I was watching there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like
And
if you let this expand out into like further adventures of Kylie Kane and Sanjay and all this other stuff, I don't know that I would ever piece together that they were Cassandra and Jason Todd. But Oliver, I would have like spotted in a matter of a split second. I mean, because he's still very much a version of Oliver Queen that I recognize and know.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I thought it was really interesting how it has been explored in comics before about the powerful families of Gotham. You know, a lot of that is very similar to Court of Owls. And I appreciated when we get the backstory here of the four powerful families of Gotham, which are the Waynes, the Queens, the Cobblepots, and then the Langstroms, and how they essentially, for lack of a better term, sold their souls when they were settlers in the new land for prosperity, which gave them immortality. But then there was this awful price they had to pay because it opened up the world to this Iog Sotha to invade and everything. But I thought that was really interesting to tie all of those families together and give them this history, because that Gotham is then built on this sacrifice. But now, it's time to pay the piper.
Yeah. And we've discussed in the past, I don't think either one of us are big on the concept of dirtying up the Waynes, if you will. I can deal with it to an extent, but I feel like it's gotten more and more popular in recent years to do more stories like that, be it the Joker movie or the Telltale games or this. And I think this is not guilty of it to the point where I'm going to bash it for it, but I would have liked a little bit more of, and I think they were trying to indicate it, but at some point I didn't have enough focus to see if that's what they were truly trying to do. But I felt like they were trying to indicate that at some point Thomas Wayne was trying to undo or make up for these things, whereas Oliver Queen's father did not, and the Cobblepots didn't, and Langstrom didn't really get touched on a lot. I don't recall anyway, but him saying, I spent the rest of my life trying to, do good to make up for this evil that we unleashed or something. But I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I get what you're saying, though, is that, they each had this price they had to pay. Cobblepot ends up crazy up in the Arctic with those demon penguins, which I also thought was very cool. Langstrom ends up killing himself because he can't live with what he's done. And then Oliver Queen's father kills Thomas Wayne. But I feel like they didn't make clear why he killed Thomas. And so you're right. Maybe like you can almost infer that Thomas was trying to make up for their sins, and therefore Oliver's father felt like he needed to stop Thomas, or like Thomas was going to reveal what they had done or something, and that's why he got killed. But yeah, like it would have been, you're right. I mean, the movie's pretty long. There's a lot in there, so I can't even be too harsh on it. But yes, it would have been nice if Thomas was trying to redeem himself and the entire family to save the city, and that's what spelled his demise.
Yeah. I felt like a little bit better splash of that might have served a little better. But again, that's more of a nitpick than anything.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. It's a small thing, but yeah, again, maybe I missed it, but to me, it never was super clear why Oliver's dad killed him. But
I want to say it was mentioned, but I can't recall.
Yeah, but I appreciate that, like, Oliver has had such a hard time living with the guilt of what his father did to Bruce's father. And that was actually very touching, especially by the end. And when he has that moment with Bruce, of Bruce going, you've done nothing. It was your father. All you've done is lived as a good man. I actually thought that was a really great scene between them.
To a certain degree, and I'd almost like to sit in with Mignola and whoever else you said worked on the book originally. Were they trying to blend Azrael into Oliver Queen too, or was it just kind of a coincidental ancient knight of some religious order thing?
That's a great question. I don't know.
That's kind of what it invoked with me.
But yeah, it's interesting. But even that was a nice spin on Oliver Queen, where he's not truly Green Arrow, but then he has these magical, arrows that he can use to kill these beings. So I thought it was a nice twist, but you're right, I didn't really make the connection to Azrael.
Could just be coincidental, but I don't know. That's where my brain went.
No, that's interesting.
But again, even though they made that massive change with him, Ollie he still felt very much like Ollie Queen to me.
Yeah, for sure.
The personality, the jokester, the jovial, that whole thing. Just really, I don't know. It just felt natural, even though it was not common for the character to have these other traits, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, the more fun-loving Bruce Wayne, really.
Yeah.
So the ghouls are in it. We mentioned them very quick. So Talia and Ra's al Ghul are in this.
I thought they were used very well. I mean, again, recognizable to who they are to a certain extent. Although, Ra's bowing down to anybody but Ra's kind of doesn't seem particularly characteristic for him. But again, recognizable, and her resurrecting him, this whole sort of thing very much felt like the Rasputin character in the Hellboy movie to me. But
yeah, I can see that too.
So this all must be, because Mignola did Hellboy too. So I doubt this is all coincidental that it ties into Lovecraft.
That's just his jam, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I thought they were both really used well. I'll tell you, I think the Batman Talia fight might be my favorite part of the movie. That was great.
Yeah,
and when he fires his grapple into her, I was like, hell yeah.
The minion that she had, I can't recall the name that she called him, but obviously I'm guessing we're saying that's Killer Croc, right?
Oh God, it's gotta be. Yeah. I don't even know if she gave him a name. If she did, I missed it.
She called him a name a couple of different times. And no, I'm thinking of the one she infected with the red lizard thing.
Yeah, that
I'm
guy.
Thinking of him. Okay.
But yeah, Killer Croc was never called by name, but it's very obvious, Killer Croc. And again, it was a nice way to have him part of it. If Talia's got a monster who's doing her bidding, why not make it a spin on Killer Croc? And I thought that was a lot of fun. Although this Batman ain't messing around, he melts Killer Croc with
and again, acid. Going back to what I keep saying about this feels very much true to the Batman character. He has some issues first time up. Then he goes back to the wine cellar, which I think it's funny that they keep referring to it as a wine, going back and forth of whether or not it's a wine cellar or a cave. I thought that was pretty funny in that respect.
Yeah.
He goes back and he takes some time to figure out what he's dealing with. And then next time he shows up, he's got like the instantaneous solution to this problem.
Oh my God. But when I saw it, I was like, oh damn, like he's gone. Liquefied.
And what was it he used on him? Chlorine or bleach?
That's what he said. Yeah.
I don't know how he figured that out, but hey, it still felt pretty Batman to me that problems in the first fight, instantaneous solution in the second fight because the prep time or whatever you want to call it.
Well, when he comes back after his first run in and Alfred immediately wants to clean him up, he goes, no, not yet. We need to analyze, this liquid on me so we know what we're dealing with, and then, we can clean up. So mission came first.
Yep.
Etrigan the Demon is in this.
The rhyming version, which...
Yes, the rhyming, but not too much.
No, I thought it was, in the past, many of you have heard me complain about when they try to do like entire books of him doing these rhymes, it just eventually wears thin on my nerves and I just don't like it anymore. But when you get Etrigan in small doses and he's giving you, 3 or 4 lines of it at a time and only 2 or 3 times in the whole thing, I can live with that. That's fine. And I thought they did a nice job with that. I don't know if restraint's the right word I'll use for it, but I didn't feel like it was overdone here.
Right. Yeah. But he's the one who tells him he needs a spirit cloaked in bats and a spirit in fire, something like that.
Yes.
And I immediately was like, oh, so Batman and Etrigan, right? Wouldn't that be them? But yeah, so I thought he was integrated well. He ends up captured after his first run-in with Talia, but manages to come out and help Batman out in the end.
Trapped in a genie bottle, no less.
Right. Yep. And yeah, you mentioned that crazy red lizard that went into that dude's head. I forgot about that.
Yes, that was pretty nasty.
I was having Wrath of Khan vibes from that.
Oh my god.
Still disturbed.
That scene still freaks me out. I've been watching that movie for 40 years. I still can't watch that scene.
And I was like, man, that thing's even bigger. Get the hell out of my ear.
Yeah, I don't like ears being messed with, and I really don't like eyes being messed with. But anyway, that's me. I was trying to figure out if that was a reference to anyone in particular, and me being the slow lug that I am, I never could place who that was trying to.
Me either. I thought it was. I mean, he was a djinn, right? He was a genie. Yeah. But I didn't think he was a takeoff of any other DC character, at least not to my knowledge. So.
Well, I mean, they did so much of it in so many other corners. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they created an original character or two in this, but I also feel like there were so many nods thrown in so many other directions that it has to be just somebody that I'm not thinking of.
Right. Well, someone will tell us if they listen.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I'm with you. To me, I took it as an original character because it didn't even give me any sort of recognition of like, oh, maybe. No, nothing.
My brain kept trying to go to Atrocitus, but there's no way that blends in with this universe. So.
Nah. All right, who else? Anyone we didn't hit on? Kirk Langstrom. Kirk Langstrom.
Oh, yeah, Langstrom, yeah.
Who's just a corpse in the Batcave?
Yeah, just sitting there rotten.
Yeah, but is talking to Batman.
It might be time to seek professional help if that happens, but
yeah.
What are you going to do?
But again, I thought an interesting way to integrate him. And then I was like, we never see Kirk Langstrom become Man-Bat. And I was like, that's weird. I mean, obviously he's already dead. For that. Yes, I was like, obviously he's already dead. But in the flashbacks, I thought maybe we would get that. And I was like, interesting. And then to your point, yep, there's a reason for that because we're going to get there. Because in this Batman movie, Batman literally becomes a Batman.
Or a Man-Bat, if you will.
Yeah. So, yeah, he learns the whole backstory from Thomas because, Barbara Gordon's in this as the Oracle version or this version of the Oracle. But that version of Oracle, it's more she communes with the spirits. It's less about technology. And so she puts him in touch with his dead father, who then tells the whole backstory.
So you mentioned as we were kind of kicking this off that you respected the cleverness, but maybe it wasn't for you.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that was her character for me. I get everything that they did with her. It all makes sense, but I like Barbara too much to just have her confined inside of a cell and that's all she's going to be involved in. I understand they were taking the wheelchair aspect and all that. I get why the choices were made. I prefer Barbara as Batgirl over Oracle. I know that may not be the popular choice among geek circles these days, but that would have done my heart better to see a Batgirl-ish version versus the Oracle version.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with what they did. It's just my preference.
No, I that's fair enough. I didn't mind it because at this point, by the time she shows up, everyone was so very different that I was like, oh yeah, it's an interesting spin on what Oracle would be in this world. But interesting also that she's confined to Arkham and doesn't seem to mind. I did like what they did with like the tinny voice of it kind of like coming through like a little amplified tin horn, almost like an old record player that gave it kind of an eerie quality. I thought that was neat. But yes, she puts him in touch with his dad, and his dad tells the whole backstory about what the families did. All of them as pilgrims, and as we're watching it, Catherine goes, "Oh, does this mean you're going to watch this as a Thanksgiving movie?" And I was like, "Well, maybe." It was how desperate I get, but maybe.
It definitely fits more in Mascarathon than Thanksgiving, but interesting perspective.
I would agree. But, they talk about the families and the sins of the fathers and him having to find these spirits. But at a certain point, they also say Bruce Wayne has to die and become himself or something like that. And that's where it ends, where, during that big final battle with first Roz, who's been possessed by, what is it? Ayag Sotha? Yeah. And then Ayag Sotha himself, where, yes, Bruce does die and Batman becomes a real Batman. I think the design is awesome. I'll be honest.
Fantastic.
He looked great. Yeah, he looked awesome. And I did appreciate the big I am Batman moment. It was different than what we've seen in the past, but it was still a cool I am Batman moment.
Agreed. But this is I've talked about choices that were made in this. I feel like this was the biggest choice of them all.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the world we're doing, for an Elseworld story, I don't mind it. I kind of like it. I'm a big fan of the Gods and Monsters story that they did, a decade ago, however long that's been, both the book and the film on that one. So I'm not opposed to them taking liberties with these characters that I know and love, but man, that was a choice to A, kill off Bruce Wayne, and B, permanently put him in a physical embodiment of a bat. But I also liked how it came back around at the end where it says, I know Bruce, where Cassandra's like talking to the crowd at the dedication ceremony. And she says, I forget the exact word she said, but it's something to the extent of, if I know Bruce, even death wouldn't keep him from protecting this city. And then they pan up into the belfry and he's hanging upside down in there. I just, cool moment.
Totally. Yeah. It's a badass ending. And again, by this point, like, I was like, sure, why the hell not? I'll go with it. It's fine. Cause I gave up on fidelity to the traditional Batman in the first 15 minutes. And so if he was going to become a literal Batman by the end, why the heck not? It's not like it's going to infect other media. And he looked cool. So yeah, I was on board for it. And doesn't he also become a Batman in the Batman Ninja Turtles movie?
Maybe. It's been a couple years since I've watched that.
I thought he did, but
I don't.
I'm pretty sure he did. Anyway, regardless, for this, I was on board with it. I liked the way he looked. I thought it was a cool climax. And yeah, like, the whole world thinks Bruce Wayne is dead, but I like that Batman lives on.
Yeah, totally.
So, yep, I dug it. All right. I feel like, did we hit everyone and everything?
I'm kind of going through the villains.
The Batmobile.
Oh yeah, I thought that was really cool. I can't believe I forgot about that.
I know. Well, again, kind of like with Poison Ivy, who had, she shows up maybe at the 50-minute mark, like where you're getting towards the end. And I was like, oh wow, Poison Ivy. And then as we're moving into the third act and Batman is, he's suiting up and he's going to go out and he doesn't think he's coming back. And I thought that was also a very good scene between him and Alfred and Kylie. Yeah. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
I thought that was a great scene too, where, he's leaving everything to them and Alfred calls him his son. I really like that. But anyway, he said, well, if you've got to go, you should take the car, and we get the reveal of this world's Batman or Batmobile. And again, it was a nice little surprise moving into the final act where you're like, oh, and we get the Batmobile. So I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, totally. I would buy a toy of that.
Yeah, it was a neat design. And like for the rest of the movie, the animation was really great. And the animation of it racing through Gotham towards his final battle. Well, I think he took that to Arkham, I think. And then, because I feel like from Arkham and his vision with Thomas, he just sort of gets transported to the final battle. That was one of those little shortcuts where I was like, oh, I guess he's here now. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, I thought that was a nice touch too.
Agreed.
All right. Well,
any other major pieces that we've missed?
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot in it. It's jam packed. So, yeah, and I appreciate that.
It's not a dry movie by any sense of the means.
All right. Well, why don't we give some final thoughts and letter grades for Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham?
Okay. I'm glad to have another Batman entry that I can watch for Scarathon every year if I choose to do so. I don't know that I'm clamoring to watch this one a lot. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked way more about this thing than I didn't. I just really have a couple of nitpicks that I've expressed here, and I'm over it. None of it's taking away from my overall enjoyment from the film. It's just preferences, maybe a little more of this, maybe a little less of that. You know, typical stuff. Typical stuff. I really don't know that. I mean, I guess I understand the people that don't like it, why they wouldn't. But I keep saying to myself, maybe if you watched it in the perspective, I know this isn't going to be something that can directly tie to like a Batman the Animated Series or the Justice League continuity we've gotten from the DC films over the years. If you go in with the perspective of knowing this is not that world, I'm just perplexed why you wouldn't enjoy this for what was presented, unless you're just not into the horror, Lovecraft, that sort of thing, or if it's just too much for them to tinker with the characters that you like. So I'm definitely in the camp that likes this more than doesn't. For me, this one sits at a solid B+.
All right. Well, very cool. I'm glad you dug it. And like I said, there's a lot that I like about it. And I think that what I respect the most is just the creativity of it, of taking Batman and his world and his cast of characters and twisting them into something unique with this sort of vibe, this Lovecraftian period setting. And I thought it was really interesting and fun to see how that played out, even though it's not my favorite version. And again, it's maybe a little too far off of the Batman that I love. I still respect what it did, and I think it did it well. So if you're into it, I love that, and I totally get it. And for me, I'm like, I'm glad I watched it. I liked it more than I expected, because I'll be honest, when I watched it in March, I didn't think I was going to like it at all. It was totally a homework one where I was like, it is a Batman movie. I guess I'll watch it. But I just, knowing what it was, I did not think it was for me. I thought it was going to be another Batman Ninja situation. Mm-hmm. And I liked it much more than that. So in that respect, it was a nice surprise. But again, I just don't know how much I'll revisit it, because if I'm in the mood for a Batman movie, I'm probably going to try to do something a little more traditional. So I think for like the quality of the movie, I would give it like an A-. But for like how much I enjoyed it, I might say like a B or like a C+. And so I'll split the difference. I'll go with just a B.
You just always have to be different than me, don't you?
I usually, yeah. Well, I am different than you. I will say real quick, like you said, like I appreciate when they do these creative things in these Elseworlds like this, or Soul of the Dragon, or Gotham by Gaslight. And I think it's cool, or Batman Ninja, like to use Batman to do these different genres and play with it and do unique things. I think that's great. And I love that. I do feel like we're overdue for a more traditional Batman animated movie, though. Does it feel like a long time since we've gotten one?
Wasn't there one that they announced like a while ago that it was going to be like Batman was going to be like a Mayan warrior or something?
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that?
I think that was for Max, but it was for Max like Latin America. But I don't know if it ever came out. I don't think it did. I think we would have known about it. But I mean, that's kind of a perfect example. I'm like, I love that you do that. That's great. That's interesting. But I don't feel like we've gotten what I would consider a traditional Batman animated movie since Hush. And that was what, 4 years ago?
God, was it that long ago?
I think so. I think it was 2019. So anyway, cool. Do the Elseworld stuff, but it'd be nice to get something a little more standard Batman. But anyway, Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham. You said a B+. I said a B. It is a good movie if it's what you're into. I'll just put it that way. And if it's not what you're into, I don't even blame you. I get it.
Yeah, whatever. I do think calling it hippopotamus shit is a little strong, but...
Well, what are you going to do with that guy?
Yeah, that's true.
So, but it definitely It definitely counts for Scare-a-thon. I was watching it. I was watching it with Catherine and with Harley. Harley was kind of enjoying it, actually. But I think it was the moment where Sanjay was dead and frozen. Even Catherine was like, oh, wow, what is this? And I'm like, yeah, it's a very dark one. It's violent. People die. There's gore. I mean, Batman, he disintegrates Killer Croc. He shoots his grapple right through Talia. So, you know, it's creepy, so it counts, and I hope you guys are dug it for Scare-a-thon. If not, put it on the list for next year.
There you go.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're not going to say goodbye just yet because it's been a minute, so we got some emails. It's time to check in with you, fine feathered finks, and crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Darren. What is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger.
This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, here we go. This first email is from Kyle Belbach. It says, hey guys, a while ago I created a letterbox list of all the DC animated and live action movies that you've covered on Holy BatCast. It'd be a nice resource to include in your show notes, and I think listeners would have an easier time finding your reviews for movies that you've covered on the show. Anyway, here's the link. Keep up the great work, Kyle. Awesome. Thanks, Kyle. And I wish I'd have thought of it, but thanks for doing the work for me. That's what I'm most appreciative of, is now I have a resource and I don't have to do the work. So thank you. I'm gonna look forward to looking this over, but yes, I will share it on the Twitter and Facebook page and all that, and think about, and I will look at adding it to the show notes as well. So thanks for doing the work for us, Kyle. Certainly appreciate it. All right. Next email here is from Brian B. It says, hey guys, I hope spooky season is going well. Well, it's almost over, Brian. It says, I've got to compliment you guys on your job. Well done for the Nightmare on Elm Street pod on Real Fans. Andy, you mentioned the jeans on the plants in the fourth movie that you found weird, and I'll just say that I have the same experience with Halloween 4, when Dr. Loomis walks into the gas station diner and the entire wall behind him is photos of Abe Lincoln. I have noticed that, Brian, and it is super weird. So I'm with you. Sorry. Voice. Anyway, my question is, now that we're 18 months post The Batman, what do you think the general consensus is from general audiences, and has your opinion changed? Personally, I really like it, despite some glaring flaws, but I'm also not foaming at the mouth for another one like I was with The Dark Knight, where I would have frozen myself in carbonite to skip to that movie's release date. I also noticed at my friend's 40th birthday party, which is a club I'll be joining in February, when it was brought up, everyone kind of shrugged and basically said, yeah, it was fine, or better than Affleck's, but not great. Secondly, with spooky season here, what random horror movies would you love to see remade? Personally, I'd say Chopping Mall. It works well with the rise of AI and The Prowler, and they definitely aren't random, but I think Night of the Living Dead and Dawn could work as a 6 to 8 episode Netflix show. Thanks for the hard work. And last thing on Nightmare on Elm Street, if you want another reason to frown on Rooney Mara, her and her adorable sister Kate are the New York Giants owner's daughters, and she's gone on the record multiple times saying how boring it is to be at the games, which as a Giants fan makes me see red. Best of luck going forward, Brian. Okay, Brian. Woo. All right. First question. Year and a half removed from the Batman. What do you think the general consensus is from audiences? And has your opinion changed, Jamie?
I think the general consensus, like my opinion of the film, has not really changed since it initially came out. I think there are people that really like it. I think there are people that aren't as quite into it. And in a small handful of cases, there's some people that just outright hate it. In my case, I was not thrilled with it. There were parts of it I truly and genuinely loved. And I still, to this day, love the things I love about that movie. But I had problems with the film, and the problems have not gone away in repeat viewings in 18 months. So I maintain what I said at first. I'm really looking forward to what comes next, but that movie just was not my top tier ideal Batman film.
Yeah, it's funny. I just discussed this with the guys over at the Vigilante 1939 podcast. Super nice guys, and I thank them for having me on it. But we had this conversation because it is interesting and it's so hard to gauge. I don't think it's as beloved as some of its biggest defenders will tell you, because I've had plenty of people since that movie came out watch it, catch up with it on Max, or just come and ask me like, "Oh, what'd you think of the Pattinson movie?" And I'd be like, it wasn't really for me. And they'd be like, "Oh my God, me either." So I know enough non-Batman fans who came and talked to me about the movie who didn't really care for it. I know plenty of people who liked it, most hardcore Batman fans. So I do think that it has a little bit more of a mixed reception out there with the general audience. It still was a hit. It still made money, but it's going to be so interesting to see how the sequel does. Because I don't know. It's so hard to tell because of the sampling, but I don't think it's like universally beloved, but certainly a lot of people like it. For me, I have not watched it since the theater and I don't really mind. So that's kind of where I'm at, is like,
Wait, you haven't watched it since the theater?
No.
Oh, wow.
I just haven't wanted to.
I feel like you liked it better than I did, and I've watched it like 3 times since the theater.
No, I have not. So, yeah, I just haven't had the desire. And that's just the reality. And then any horror movies you'd like to see remade?
There's a lot of horror movies I'd like to see. There's a lot of movies I'd like to see remade. I'm not one of those people that's staunchly against films ever being remade, but my policy with a remake is do something different than the original version that you're remaking, or improve on the version that you are remaking. It's when you do it just to do it, and it's almost like either a carbon copy or just a trashier version of it, that I don't abide. But like in the case of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I mean, that's no longer even a minority opinion to say that there are a lot of people out there that like the remake as much, if not more, than the original at this point. Night of the Living Dead, there are people out there that like the 1990 version as much or more than they like the 1968 version. So there's ways that you can approach it, but as far as ones that I'd like to see remade, I just watched Chopping Mall for like the second time in my life for Scarathon back in September, I think it was. And man, that movie is some 80s something, man.
I watched it for the first time this year and I thought it was super fun.
It didn't overstay its welcome. It's only like an hour and 15 minutes long because they're not telling a story here. They're just doing what they can with the technology available. So, that would be something that, yes, I think you could probably do a remake and take a little bit more of a serious and less tongue-in-cheek tone with it and turn out something that people might enjoy. But God, off the top of my head, I'm terrible at this off the cuff stuff. Like, I know a movie, it's not a horror movie, so I know this is kind of sidestepping it, but a movie that I've said for years is just prime for a remake is Krull. I love the original version of Krull, but there are things in that movie because of budgetary and technological constraints they just couldn't pull off in that movie in 1983 or whatever year it came out that they could today with a lot more ease.
Yeah. Yep. You asked for random, and I've got a real random answer for you because it's one that I watched for the first time a couple years ago, and I liked it, but I was like, man, there's a better movie in here, and it's the movie called Ghost Story. Have you ever seen it?
Is that the one from back in the early 80s?
Yes, I think it's from 1980, maybe.
Like a bunch of old guys?
Yes, with a bunch of old men. Fred Astaire is in it. And it's pretty good. There's a great story in there, but the movie isn't great. And I was like, man, there's something here. And I still enjoyed it for what it was, but I was like, there's a better movie to be made. And I would love to see that. You know, for years, that was what I said about it. Like, I liked the TV version of it, but I was like, there's a better version of that to be made. And then in my opinion, we got it. And then the other answer, because I didn't have any other answers prepared, is I would like to see reboots of the biggies. I'd like to see a good Friday the 13th reboot and another Nightmare on Elm Street reboot. I love those characters, and it's a shame both of them have been in mothball so long. So yeah, I'd love to see them come back. Maybe it doesn't even have to be a remake, but just sort of a reboot that would put them back in movies, and we could start getting new movies.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. Next email. This is from Stuart from Guernsey. It says, I love the episode covering the Batman and Robin toys. Jay's just published another article covering the Batman 89 toys. Any chance that you would get him back to talk about that? I can imagine out of all the Batman movie toys, it would be the biggest nostalgia trip for you. Also, what are your thoughts on the continuation of the Batman 89 comic? What do you hope to see and get out of the story? I couldn't believe my luck when they announced the Batman 89 concert. It worked out that I'll be in France when they perform in May. It's a 1-hour drive from where I'll be, so me and my son can't miss out, and we'll be driving down to watch it. I'm so hyped. It's going to be a long winter waiting. Anyway, I'll stop with all the 89 questions. I hope you're doing well and enjoying spooky season. Stuart. All right. Thank you, Stuart. I'm glad you liked the Batman and Robin toy episode. Me and Jay had a blast doing that. And yeah, I want to do follow-ups with all of his articles because it was so much fun. So what was the other question? The continuation of the Batman 89 comic. Jamie, what do you think?
I would like to delve into some more concepts of characters that Burton never got a chance to play with, such as, Scarecrow, Harley Quinn, even maybe a Killer Croc, something along those lines. I would just like to see an advancement in that direction. Nothing particular story-wise. I would like to see what somebody else would feel would be Tim Burton's ideal version of this character as they're writing the book.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and we are getting two of those things. We're getting Harley and Scarecrow, which is exciting.
Shows how much attention I've been paying.
Yeah, we've seen some designs, actually. It's pretty cool. So I don't have strong, I don't have a strong wish list. I am excited about it, though. I'm excited to see it get pushed to the next one, and I hope we get more continuity with what we already got, and it just feels like a natural continuation. But I am looking forward to it. And then I got my tickets to the Batman 89 concert in March, so I'm excited. I'm with you. Have you seen that, Jamie? Did you know that was happening?
I saw a brief glimpse of it. I didn't really delve into it too much because it's probably not something I would go to.
Well, you're missing out. We're going.
Okay.
Okay. Next question is from Benjamin. It says, I hope spooky season is treating you well and your pumpkins are spiced. Oh, real quick, Jamie. I had to run to Walmart after work today to get more Halloween candy because I'm worried about it's going to be too busy. But they had a bunch of pumpkin spice coffee on clearance. So guess.
Yeah, Target had that when we were there last weekend too.
Yep. I refreshed my K-Cup collection. Anyway.
Do you have Kroger down there? I forget.
We do not. We have Publix.
Oh, well, that's a shame because those awesome pumpkin pie ice cream sandwiches are on sale right now, 2 for $5.
Oh.
And Kimbra and I were at the grocery store yesterday at Kroger because it's the closest one to our house. And I saw that. And when she wasn't looking, I grabbed all 9 of them that were in that nice section and put them in the cart. And she came back and looked at me and I was like, I had to put 5 of them back. I was so pissed.
Well, pace yourself. Anyway, Benjamin continues. He said, this week, the newest Mortal Kombat Legends animated movie came out, and it's called Cage Match. It features a young Johnny Cage in an 80s Hollywood Vice City. It's a lot of fun, and I'm glad that WB Animation keeps putting these out. My question, similar to the idea of focusing on a single character like Johnny Cage, what 2 characters would you want to see team up or fight one another in a DC versus MK animated movie? So instead of an ensemble Mortal Kombat movie of fighters versus the Justice League, it's only 2 main characters. I'd love to see Sub-Zero versus Mr. Freeze in Gotham, and why not set it at Christmas for Andy? Thanks for keeping the gaslight of Gotham lit, Benjamin. Thanks, Benjamin. I mean, yes, I would buy that in a second. Sub-Zero versus Mr. Freeze. Sign me up. I love it.
I mean, that would make the most sense, but my
Yeah.
choice isn't based on sense. It's the fact that I would just pick my two favorite characters.
Oh, do tell.
Batman and Scorpion.
Okay. Great. I'm down with that.
I mean, if you broke it down like to an extent, I think Superman versus Raiden could be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Or, gosh, I don't know, Cyborg versus Sector or something like that.
Yeah.
Zatanna versus Shang Tsung. I mean, you could make some pairings out of that. I really feel like, but I mean, my choice is Batman and Scorpion because Batman's my favorite DC character and Scorpion's my favorite Mortal Kombat character.
All right, great. I mean, Sub-Zero is my favorite Mortal Kombat character, and Benjamin already covered him. I did like Raiden too. Raiden and Shazam, because lightning.
I mean, we all feel at this point that Raiden is based off of Big Trouble in Little China, right?
Oh yeah. So, I was also thinking like Scorpion and Scarecrow, something like that.
That wouldn't be the worst.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you, my Mortal Kombat knowledge ends after Mortal Kombat 2. So those are the characters I know. So I was thinking like Kano and Cyborg.
Kano and Cyborg, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
I was thinking the robotic ones from Mortal Kombat 3, which is where Sector came out of.
Yeah. But, I mean, that would be fun. I did like the Mortal Kombat versus DC game, so I think that would be a lot of fun.
I never got to play that.
I did. It was good. All right, next email here is from Jacob Norris. It says, I know you've discovered Batman and DC. Oh, I know you've discussed Batman and DC in amusement parks in previous episodes. I was wondering, if Universal were to acquire WB, would they also get the theme park rights? I'd love to see DC incorporated into the Universal parks, and I'm sure it's complicated. I'm not sure how it would work with the current Marvel attractions already in the park, but I can dream. Also, if you're unable to continue the show, if that deal happens, we'll have to work something out and distribute the show in the black market. I need my BatCast fix. Thanks, guys, Jacob. Thank you, Jacob. I appreciate that. Yeah, we talked about this briefly a couple episodes ago where there's the rumors of Universal buying WB. I'll just say this, like, whatever contracts are in place for DC and theme parks, those would get passed along with any purchase that happens. And then it's all about the specifics of those contracts. Like, are they into perpetuity? Like, do they not have an end date? Are they for 10 years? Are they for 20? Who knows? Only the lawyers at WB know.
I was going to say, what's the contract with Marvel properties sitting over at Universal Parks right now?
It's in perpetuity.
What does that mean?
That means forever. It means forever until they make another deal.
Okay, then.
Yep. So, yeah, it just depends. Like a lot of times these contracts will have a time limit. It'll be for 10 years or 20 years, then they'll renegotiate or whatever. But yes, the Marvel contract here in Florida, it's for perpetuity until someday when Disney and Universal ever work something else out. And they can renegotiate, but it's not going to expire. And so, yeah, for DC and Universal, if that were to happen someday, it just depends on what the existing contracts are with Six Flags and with any other parks. So my hunch is, though, if that were to happen, they'd figure it out and get DC and Universal parks. That's my hunch. That is the opinion of Andy DiGenova, not of Universal Studios. But you don't buy Warner Brothers and get some of the most valuable IP in the world in DC and not want to use it across all platforms.
Now, would there be any conflict of interest with like Six Flags at that point then?
Well, that's the question is, like maybe, again, it depends on whatever the contract with Six Flags is. So they could like buy out the Six Flags contract. They could alter it. So, as long as a Universal park doesn't have DC in the same state as a Six Flags park, they can both have, there are ways for them to do both. But that's all up for lawyers to decide if it ever happens. But my point is, I'm sure Universal would want to use DC in their parks and would figure out a way to do it.
You think they would oust their Marvel properties for DC stuff?
I
know that's pure speculation.
I think that would make it easier to do that. If they had, if they knew that they had this other thing, they might not hold on as tightly, But that could be a whole rabbit hole that I don't want to go too on the record about.
I kind of want it to happen just so I can see Batman and Dom team up.
Hell yeah.
For Bat Family.
Well, I was going to say, I don't have friends. I have Bat Family. All right, next email here. It's from Dave Chambers. It says, "Hey, Andy and the BatCast crew. I loved the Batman and Robin toy episode. That toy line from Kenner, along with Batman Forever, was so much fun. I remember the Batman and Robin line came out when my family was moving, so I'd make the Gotham skyline out of moving boxes. It was so much fun. By the way, as a lifelong defender of Clooney's Batman, I'm glad that the fan community is finally showing some love to the Schumacher films. Are they perfect? No, but they are a lot of fun. Honestly, we need more Batman movies like those again for kids today to have toyetic action figures to play with. Keep up the good work. Holy BatCast, Dave Chambers." All right, thanks, Dave. I'm glad you liked that episode. Another vote for more toy episodes. We'll do it. It was great.
I want to dedicate an entire episode to just that little tiny Matchbox Superman spaceship car thing that I had with the fists on it.
With the fist, I told you, go to Walmart. You can buy one right now.
Yeah, but it's like a bigger one, you said, right?
Yes, it's like you actually can put him in it.
Yeah, I had a little Matchbox.
Oh, a little tiny version?
Yeah.
I still need to open my Batman and Robin Mr. Freeze playset. My Mr. Freeze Observatory playset, and I hadn't opened it because I was like, do I do like an unboxing video? Because it's sealed. It's brand new. I don't know. Or do I just rip off the Band-Aid and open it? Because
there was an episode of The Big Bang Theory that was all about this.
I mean, I'm going to open it one way or the other. I just was like, is it worth doing an unboxing since I'm opening an unopened toy from 1997? Maybe. What did The Big Bang Theory decide?
Sheldon got a Star Trek transporter playset, and he wanted one as a kid, and he never got it. So Penny bought it for him as a gift, and he didn't want to take it out of the box. But then Leonard was jealous that Penny bought one for him, so Penny bought one for Leonard too. So Sheldon opened Leonard's to play with it and broke it. But he left his in the box.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, funny you should mention that because the next email is right in line. This one is from Mark Bickford. It says, "I hope you guys have a fun show this week because I could use it after the week we've had here in Maine." Oh my God, no kidding. Sorry, man. Number one, why do you guys have it in for Scandalous? Every time you bring up the Prince album, there's a bit of, oh yeah, Scandalous, ha ha. I think it's a great song. When it came out, I actually thought of it as a cool first wedding dance song, but that just may demonstrate what an annoying little wannabe edgelord I was in my 20s. Second, I didn't realize there was a toy bat car that also became a boat in a plane. So chitty chitty bat bat? You talked a lot about toys that you had and toys you wanted, but what Batman-related toy did you never have but you wanted to play with as a kid? Let's face it, you can spend all the money you want on the McFarlane figures, but Harley's never going to get to take them out and play with them in the sandbox. So if you could have any toy, existed or not, specifically to play with as a child, what would it be? And third, I want to preface this by saying I'm not talking about the actors themselves. So far as I'm concerned, both did a perfectly good job. But why do you think that people say that Ray Fisher's look as Cyborg in Justice League sucks, while praising Joy Van Wade's look in Doom Patrol? Ray may be all CGI, but he looks like he's living metal. Joy Van Wade is wearing a plastic hat. I honestly don't get it. Is it reflexive CGI hatred or Snyder hatred? Any ideas? Thanks, and have a great week, Mark. Thanks, Mark. Oh, man. Ooh, gotta take a drink. Give me 1 second. Scandalous. I don't know Jamie's thoughts on Scandalous.
It's one spot behind Vicky Waiting.
Okay. Here's why I don't like Scandalous. I like the music itself. I think the music to Scandalous is very nice. I don't like the way Prince sings it. I don't like that it's all in falsetto. It just, to me, it's like weird and annoying. So that's why I don't like it. I'm sorry. But if we're talking about like the actual tune, it's very beautiful. Like, I think I would like a orchestral version more than him singing it. So that's it. That's why. Second, a Batman toy you would have loved as a kid that you actually would have played with, Jamie.
Pretty much anything from the Superpowers lineup, because I feel like those were coming around when I was like getting away from toys. But like anytime I would go through a toy section and see them, I'd be like, damn, that's some really cool action figures in there and play sets and stuff like that. That was just a cool line.
Yeah, I agree.
I never had any of them. Closest thing I had for it was, what was it? It was the Joker figure for Batman '89 that was just a repaint of that figure, right?
It wasn't Joker. It was Penguin for Returns was a repaint.
Okay.
Because the first Joker was Toy Biz, and it didn't look like Jack Nicholson at all. It just kind of looked like a generic Joker. And then when Kenner got the license, they did one that looked more like Nicholson.
I see. So yeah, my memory's a little hazy about that, but I do recall the Superpowers line being pretty freaking awesome, because a few years before that, there was the Secret Wars line that had the Marvel figures, and I had a bunch of those. I had Wolverine and Doctor Doom and Iron Man and Cap and Doctor Doom's lair and Cap's motorcycle thingy with the side pod on it. I mean, there was some cool stuff in that. And then I think the Superpowers came out like a year or two after that, but I just wasn't into playing with toys, but I would just see those toys and just be like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. No, I love that answer, and I agree with you. Like, especially as a kid, the entire Superpowers line. I can't just pick one thing. I mean, I talked about it recently. I really wanted that Batmobile, which is why I bought the new McFarlane version. But yeah, that whole line. And then by extension, the whole line from Batman '89. Even though it wasn't a huge line and I had some of them, I would have loved to have also had the Batcave and the Batmobile, because I played with the ones I did have, but I would have loved them all. And then I wish they would have come out with a Vicky Vale action figure. Maybe a Lawrence action figure. Maybe a Cathedral playset so you could do the ending. Yeah. Yeah, because my biggest...
The thing I remember the most about the Batman '89 toy line is you could not walk through a toy section without finding an entire row of Bob the Goon.
Hell yeah, of course.
There was never any Batman or Joker to be found. But Bob the Goon, it was like the stormtrooper army that we dreamed of as kids with Star Wars.
Yep. Well, and that's just it. I would have loved a more extensive '89 figure, but Toy Biz was small and they only did what they could. But yeah, like, have what we had, but then also Vicky Vale and Lawrence with the boombox and Eckhart, like Knox. I would have bought a Knox action figure. Like, I would have wanted them all, plus additional play sets, you know?
I wanted Grissom with number one guy action.
See? What about like a Joker parade float vehicle? How fun would that have been? So,
oh my God. This is totally off track, but because it just hit me, because I wanted to talk to you about this, because I just watched Beetlejuice like 2-3 days ago. Did you know that Maxie Dean's office is Grissom's office? It's the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I don't think I did know that. So now I'm gonna have
gotta
to.
Be the same set, dude. The windows and everything about it's gotta be the same set.
Okay.
So if you haven't watched Beetlejuice already, the next time you sit down to watch it, and he's on that phone call with Maxie Dean trying to get him to come to the town, and they're showing Bob Goulet sitting in that office, that is the same office set as Batman '89 for Grissom.
All right, that's fun.
Anyway, sorry.
That's okay. Very cool. And then the final question, you know what's funny is, Mark, I've never heard, I feel like I haven't heard this, that people say that Ray Fisher looked bad as Cyborg, but Jovan Wade looks better. Maybe
in
this
the
is your circle.
days before I ditched my Twitter account, and this is going back a couple of years, so, I feel like it was exactly the opposite. I feel like the DCEU fans were like flogging the Joy Von Wade look, like they couldn't stand it. And I was trying to defend it and saying, guys, it's a TV show. It's going to have less budget than a movie. They can't do a full CGI cyborg for it, so they're working with what they got. Oh, yeah, but he's wearing a jogging suit. I'm like, so what?
Yeah. Again, I feel like I've seen praise and criticism for both versions. So Mark's comment here seems like it's sort of what he has seen is all of it one way. But yeah, I've seen it. I've seen both ways. I've seen people who loved Ray Fisher's look and didn't like it. And I've seen people who love Joy Von, well, not even love, but think that Joy Von Wade looked fine and some not so much. And yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think that I remember when they first revealed Cyborg's look for Justice League, I don't think the complaint was that it was CG. It was just a little less sleek than maybe people expected. Because I remember people saying he kind of looked like Megatron from the Transformers movies. And I get that.
That's not unfair.
Yeah, which is not inaccurate. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Joy Von Wade, obviously he's wearing plastic and it looks fine for a TV show, but it's just more practical for a TV show. So yeah, I don't know.
I don't really have a strong opinion either. I don't think either one of them looks bad.
Yeah, I agree. I like them both, so I don't know. I got nothing to add. I like them both.
Yeah.
I get why both approaches were done, and so I'm good with it. I do think that's why in the very last shot in Justice League, Cyborg changes his look. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, I think that's why. Just to make him look a little less jagged, you know? So, and controversial. I liked that final look too.
Yeah. Well, I like that movie, so, controversial is a thing, I guess.
All right. Well, we're closing the Wayne Manor mailbox. Thank you guys to everybody who wrote in. If you've got something, please write that to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. And Jamie, that does it. Happy Halloween. And my voice barely held out, but it held out.
Well, you know what? We're getting off here with a little bit of time where we can still go out and set some fires for Devil's Night. So that's good news.
Excellent. I was trying to think of something to say about the crow, but I got nothing.
It can't rain all the time.
Yeah, that's true too. Okay, it certainly can't.
Actually, the ideal line right now, but for publication date, maybe not work, is Halloween ain't till mañana.
All right, good. I need to know that movie better, apparently.
I've seen that movie a bunch.
Anyway, Jamie, happy Halloween. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for doing this on a Monday night. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great
you, which
tomorrow.
Is why we're doing this smack dab in the middle of a Raiders game. So,
well, I was just trying to distract you and talk about happier things.
Yeah, well, Halloween is a happy thing.
Indeed,
my daughter's birthdays are a happy thing. So,
for sure. Anyway, anywhere we can find you, or not so much?
Letterboxed under my name, Real Fans Groups on Facebook, and periodically floating around on this show.
Perfect. I already told you guys where to find me, but thank you as always for joining us and for streaming or downloading the show. Please do subscribe or follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. Something else that you can do for us to help us out is just rate and review us wherever you get your shows. A nice rating goes a long way and it costs you nothing, and that would be awesome. You go to holybatcast.com and again, find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. If you got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, that email address, again, is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by the talented Gaurav Venkateswar. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. And don't forget to check out our sponsors over at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com, do some shopping, and use that promo code BATSCAPED. But that will do it for this spooky Halloween episode. On behalf of Jamie, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
You're still alive? Not alive. Not anymore. What are you? I am
Same devil time, same devil channel.
Spooky time, spooky channel.
Pumpkin time, pumpkin channel.
Oh, pumpkin. I like pumpkin. I ever tell you that?
You know what? Don't let these Christmas people push the pumpkin out of our face too soon.
No.
We still have a whole nother month of pumpkin.
Pumpkin carries on well into the Christmas time era as far
You
as
darn right. Pumpkin is applicable for a while. I don't switch to peppermint until Black Friday.
I don't switch to peppermint at all. So
Well, then it's easy for you.
it is.
Go to Walmart, cheap pumpkin spice.
I'm there.